Welcome to Let's Chat with Derick. I am your host, Derick Phage, and I am pleased to introduce today's guest. She is Manali Scott. She is a spiritual wellness coach. She is also the owner of Zen For. Manali, thank you so much for joining me. How you doing?
Thanks, Derek. It's always great to be on your shows, and I'm doing super. I mean, I'm very excited to share some cool messages about being more mindful, and I'm pretty sure we all need that right now. Correct?
Yeah,
So,
I couldn't agree more. And it's interesting. You probably are one of the best prepared people that I have talked to so far. As we go through this pandemic, because this is something you've been practicing for a long time, achieving that life balance, managing chaos, and doing that through mindfulness. But has this impacted you personally? How are you feeling about the situation, Manal?
no, absolutely. I mean, I have been doing this coaching work as a healer, as a, mindfulness coach for over 20 years now, Derek. But the fact is that, yes, it has impacted me to some way, even if it's in the diluted format, it has impacted me. And I think it's really important for each and every one of us to just admit it,
Yeah.
you know. And the minute we say, yeah, it has impacted me, but I'm ready to move forward, and that moving forward is about a day-to-day moving forward, so even for me, every morning when I get up, it's an intention I have to set, that today is the day I'm going to work towards moving forward. And yes, I'm impacted a bit, so
Yeah.
it's like daily brushing our teeth. Mindfulness is about daily brushing your teeth, daily getting up and saying, yeah, today's a new day.
So, Manali, you mentioned mindfulness and something that you've been practicing, as I said, for a long time. So, how would you describe mindfulness exactly?
So, Derek, the way I understand mindfulness is being mindful, right? And under this mindfulness bubble comes being mindful, different areas of being mindful, right?
Okay.
So we can be mindful right now about our body, like, is something hurting? Is anything tight? Any stress, points we are feeling? That's physical big mindfulness. I can be mindful as a healer about my energies. Am I feeling open and amplified today, or am I feeling a little stressed out and anxious today? Correct. Mindfulness can be about emotional mindfulness,
Right.
mindfulness about our thoughts, like what is the first thought we have every morning, you know so mindfulness can begin with the tiniest things. You can be mindful about eating your food, you know
Yeah.
uh, sometimes I notice people just eat, and I think being mindful would be appreciating that there's food in front of you on your table and just saying thank you, and that's being mindful. So mindfulness is about just being in the moment of gratitude, in the mode of really really appreciating whatever you have in your life, and being more mindful about positive thoughts versus negative thoughts. So, that's the whole bubble of mindfulness, the way I understand it.
Manali, I thought your description or the way that you described just eating, right, is such a great example of it, because it reminds me of a gentleman by the name of Chris Knight, who owns Gusto TV, and he puts on a whole bunch of it's like a Food Network.
Yeah.
And I had a chance to interview Chris many years ago, and one question that he thought was fascinating that I asked him, that he'd never been asked before, is how do we properly enjoy a meal, especially when we go out? And he said, that's such a great point, because you're spending money on something, right? And
Right.
unfortunately, most of us just spend the money and we use it to refuel ourselves. There's no necessarily thought into it. But he was explaining, well, it's being mindful, I think, is what he was describing to me. Now that you give that as an example, walk into the restaurant, how does it make you feel? What's the atmosphere like? How are you greeted? What's the
Yeah.
music like in the restaurant? When the food comes to your table, what does it look like? How does it make you feel? What are the smells? Smell it, take in all the scents and so forth, and then really taste the food.
Yeah.
And that just popped into my mind, like, it's so true. We often sit down at dinner and we don't think of anything, and as you described, we don't do it enough in life, like across so many different platforms, right?
Yeah. And Derek, I think mindfulness is being a floating word around, but I think if we simplify that word, it's just about bringing your awareness
Hmm.
to your own self. bringing your awareness to your breath. That's a great way to start, because guess what? This is the moment. This is keeping us alive,
Yeah, talk
right?
about breathing, because breathing is something that you feel is very important, and we don't consciously do it properly, right?
Yeah, maybe it's installed in me, from some of my amazing teachers I have. I come from India originally, from Mumbai city, and I've been very fortunate to have met a lot of people who have been talking about this concept. And the fact is that when we are born, that's the first time as a baby we take our breath in, correct?
Yeah,
And then whenever our time is going to come, that's going to be our last breath out. So technically, I mean, as some of my teachers had talked to me, is technically our life is between these two breaths. And I think that's mindfulness, to be aware that every morning we are breathing. And with all that's going on, that's a really amazing big thank you we need to give our own breath. And that's
yeah.
keeping us alive. And that's something to celebrate about, right? Uh, and keeping the other areas of your life that are not going so well aside, really celebrating this breath. And yeah, so I'm a big huge fan of the breath awareness, which takes to the side of spiritual coaching and meditations, and all begins with the breath. So
Well, and
yeah.
it helps calm the mind too when you consciously think of breathing and how you're breathing. That can, that can really relax the mind, can't it?
Absolutely. And just I would love to tell people that notice, next time if you're a little angry, you'll be surprised the breath changes. Actually
Hmm.
goes a little faster, okay? When you're happy, the breath is a little different, okay? And when you're very calm and in the little Zen mode, the breath changes. So when we are training our breath and being more aware of it,
Hmm.
we can stop a reaction to happen. Because if you're getting angry and if you notice your breath and do some calming down techniques, you're not going to blow out or react. So
Right.
it's almost like a breathing techniques can be used as a prevention from explosion in a way, and really getting that emotional stability in our life. And that's the managing chaos part, or achieving more balance side of things.
But now I know it's constant all the time is our inner voice, and we have these conversations with ourselves, and maybe those conversations might have, unfortunately for some people during the pandemic, they've changed. And because we're inundated with news all the time, you turn on the radio, you're on social media, you watch television, you see all of these things that are you're being bombarded with the pandemic and bombarded with numbers and so forth. How can you control that inner voice and sort of um, not connect with the chaos, but maybe help, even control some of that chaotic inner voice in your head?
Yeah, so Derek, I mean, I like to tell people, first of all, name your inner voice. I had actually
Really? Okay.
talked about this topic in a international women's conference a few years back, training our inner voice. And I like to call my inner voice Charlie,
Okay.
okay, and which is the reality. And what happens is it becomes like a real roommate, inner roommate almost, okay. And when we give a name, training that inner voice becomes a little easy. That's step one. So any name that of your choice would be a great way to start, okay. Now second, would be lovely is if you have a negative thought, you could have a certain word that will kind of stop that negative circuit, okay.
Okay.
It kind of goes towards the emotional intelligence side of things, the EI side of things, where it's kind of a decoding. You get a negative thought, and if you catch it, you're aware of it, you say a certain word two times. So I love to use the word cancel, cancel,
Okay.
correct? So let's say my inner voice Charlie has given me a little anxiety, negative thought. Easiest ways, if I am aware of it, I will say cancel, cancel,
I
correct?
love that concept. I have never heard anybody explain that you should name your inner voice before, but it makes so much sense, right?
Correct.
Then you
And
acknowledge right away that it's actually happening.
absolutely. And this concept, I mean, I have been coaching this concept to lots of clients globally for the last over 20 years, and it really works. You know why? Because um, our brain has two segments, right? Emotional and rational part of the brain.
Right.
So thoughts actually enter the emotional part of the brain first. So when we say cancel, cancel, we are deleting it before it hits the rational part of our brain. Simple as that.
Right.
And you know, the words can be any word that you connect with. Like for me, I'm suggesting cancel, cancel. I know
Well, it's
some
straight to the point, right? I
straight to the
mean,
point.
then
Yeah.
your Charlie knows immediately what you're trying to do to him in there.
Absolutely. And the same concept when your inner voice is telling you something nice, like, you know, I get a lot of intuitions and some good, I don't know, motivational messages. I would say thank you to Charlie then. And that's
Okay.
the way they're balancing both sides. One is by cancel, cancel, and the other side is by genuinely saying thank you, right?
Right.
So that's a wonderful technique for people to actually try it out. But remember, I mean, it's like daily brushing our teeth again. Consistency matters. So if you guys want to try cancel, cancel, then we need to do it at least consistently for 2 weeks
Okay.
to see a substantial difference in how your mind is now programmed to think more positive
I
versus negative.
I
Yeah.
accept the challenge. I'm going to come up
Excellent.
with a name for my inner voice, and I will do that because I think it would be incredibly helpful. I know that a lot of people, I know my wife has actually turned to this, and that is meditation. And people are using, and maybe they're using technology for, to help them along with meditation, but there are different styles of meditation as well. I think, there's a preconceived notion or the myth out there that you have to be, sitting cross-legged in a dark room, you know, uh, humming to yourself, but there are different ways to meditate. What do you suggest? What tools do you use?
When I conduct my meditation classes, right now they're all virtually happening every Tuesday. I focus on the breathing because I believe that this is what we are born with. And it really doesn't matter then from whichever belief system we are in terms of our faith, whether it's spiritual, religious background, whatever people believe, because this is common, correct? The breath.
Right.
And when I conduct my meditations, I love to go with this globally accepted platform called the breath. And for me, when I conduct meditations, it's all about just simply being aware of your breathing, right?
Okay.
But I would like to say, whatever works for each person, they should go with that technique. Like, as you said, there's something called humming. That's one technique. Sometimes it's more about visualization. So people close their eyes and they want to visualize something. That's another technique. Sometimes it's like a little candle technique. You people light a little tea light or candle and they focus on the flame, right?
Right.
So many things are out there in the land of meditation, and I would suggest that try it all out, whichever you're attracted to and you connect with, and that becomes your style of meditation, right?
So you know what I use, Manali, is
Uh,
I actually started meditating many years ago. I don't do it as often as I used to, but I did it because I was suffering from depression and anxiety, and I needed to find a way out. I was having panic attacks, and I didn't want to take medication, so I turned to meditation. And to get rid of that inner voice, the constant conversation, I actually just make up a gibberish word and say it over and over again until that conversation in my head disappears, and then I can actually just concentrate being, in that moment and just enjoying,
oh no, that's
being, right?
yeah, yeah. And actually, that technique, Derek, reminds me of the transcendental meditation technique, the TM meditation,
Okay.
where you're given like a one word, a mantra, and you kind of keep repeating, and it almost like distracts you from everything else, and you're just being with that one word, right? So, absolutely. I mean, as I said, at the end of the day, all these are just different techniques, but they're taking you to the same point,
Right.
basically.
Yeah. And is
So,
that the purpose of the humming as well? Like, is to just sort of try to stop those thoughts that are going through your head, or is there a different meaning to humming?
there is a different meaning as well. Is like, we have 7 chakras or energy centers, right? And that
Right.
create our so-called energy blanket or electromagnetic field, we like to call it. So each humming word has a frequency which kind of vibrates around our electromagnetic field and opens
Okay.
certain energy centers, right? So when I do my chakra coaching or chakra assessment or healing sessions, I really love to explain it to people more about their energy centers and which humming or which word can work best for them, right, in their own meditations, and what can they do to amplify their energy centers on a day-to-day basis. Yeah, so the answer to your question is yes, it kind of works similar to the other words, but certain words, like there are vowels like ohms and yums and lums in different, yoga chanting. um, that has entirely a whole new difference in amplification of your own energy centers.
Well, and then I guess maybe upping that is singing bowls, which is something else that I've gone to different
Yes.
workshops that have used that. And not only do you get the sound, which is very, I mean, it's almost hypnotizing, but you also feel that vibration from it as well, right?
Absolutely. I think that's it. You said the word vibration. So all these are the humming, the vibrations change the frequency of our batteries, I like to call it. Chakras are like batteries. And these vibrations also impact our physiology because these energy centers are on a vertical meridian along our spinal cord in our body. And as we know, the spinal cord is connected to all systems, you know.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful, fabulous way to just relax and amplify yourself is getting those vibrations up.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and I would encourage people as well, Manali, that are watching, is that if you're skeptical, just simply try it instead of just, brushing it aside. Listen, I was skeptical, before I tried meditation or did a singing bowl workshop. It's just, honestly, just give it a try. And if you don't reach maybe the goal that you were going for, I think you will still find so many benefits to doing something like it, right?
Absolutely. And it's again, it's not really about the word, or exactly the word. It's about the frequency. So for example, some people may not be comfortable using the word om because of their religious or other faiths.
Right.
That doesn't matter. You can just say that's the frequency. So
Yeah.
it's about the vibration, as you said, and people should just go and just get into that flow of what working for them and what amplifies them. And at the end of the day, that's what matters, not the exact word. The frequency and the vibration matters.
You mentioned earlier you're doing virtual group meditation classes. How can people get involved in those?
Honestly, best would be my website.
Okay.
Okay, and it's zenforyou.ca. And absolutely, there's like an events page, and that's one way to reach out. Or just send me an email again at manali@zenforyou.ca. Or I'm on social media handles, right? And on Insta at Zen for You Inc., Facebook. But reach out, and I would be very happy to just send you a quick link to try out a single class if you want to see if it works for you or not, right?
And you
It's
do
a
one-on-one
powerful.
sessions as well, right?
Absolutely. And Derek, right now I'm offering people first free half an hour kind of one-on-one coaching with me. We are not necessarily there's a session involved, but kind of
Okay.
having a conversation with people about mindfulness, understanding what resources that they need right now, considering all our difficult times. So absolutely that's available, and everything is on my website. You can book your first free session. There's a free ebook, anything you want, it's all out there, and I'm happy to be there and support everyone right now. Absolutely.
Oh, terrific. Manali, thank you so much for reaching out to me. I really appreciate it. And we should give a shout out to our friend Samantha, who
Absolutely.
reconnected us again. So a big thanks to Samantha for connecting us again. I wish you all the best. Thanks very much for spending time with us, and we'll see you again sometime.
Absolutely, Derek. Take care. Namaste. See you soon.
Namaste. Bye bye.
Bye bye.